Good evening, folks. I'm just heading home from a late night sauna rendezvous, and every time I've been sitting in the sauna for the last month or so, I've been working my way through this tome of a book called Reality Transurfing, which I've been really hesitant and honestly kind of opposed to reading. However, it keeps falling into my lap, keeps getting recommended, it keeps coming up. And essentially, it's a book about manifestation, which is why I'm opposed to it. However, it's not really about manifestation in the typical sense that there's a bunch of incantations or affirmations or making a vision board and all that kind of crap that those kind of books and that kind of content writing usually talks about, which is stuff that I just don't really give a shit about. It's actually quite a pragmatic look at what does it really mean to shift our reality, to shift our timeline, to change and reorient the mosaic of our life so that we move towards that which we want to experience more of. And it's quite simple in the concept from what I've written so far. For what I've read so far. And it's essentially this idea that where we put our awareness and where we put our intention and attention is what we create. But what I like about it is that it makes a lot of distinctions. And it's a very timely book for me, not because I feel like I need it, but rather because it's been kind of a confirmation in what I've experienced in my life in the last year. And for those of you who are new here or don't know me, the end of 2024, about 14 months ago, dead fucking broke, living in a shack in someone's backyard, no bathroom, pissing out the window, just leaving the most horrendous relationship of my life, just got canned by my 3 best friends who were my business partners, had no fucking money, no idea how I was gonna pay rent. And I decided to shift something internal in my mind. I decided to approach life with a brand new outlook. And what happened over the next 12 months was pretty miraculous. You know, last year I went from literally zero to building a business that did around $170,000 last year. Did an additional, I've done since then, in the last 60 days, an additional $45,000 or so collected cash. We've got another $45,000 or so on the way in the next few months. So I've almost done half of what the business that I did last year in the first 2 months of this year. And it wasn't because I figured out some business hack or some cheat code. It was how I reoriented my reality. And I want to talk a little bit about what this book talks about and then how I experienced it myself. So there's kind of these pivotal moments that happen in our lives where we're put at choice. And as I mentioned at the beginning of 2025, like literally I woke up on January 1st, I had just been kicked out of my business. I had no idea how I was going to pay rent. I had no payout from my former business partners at that point. I had no fucking idea what to do. And in the months leading up to that, I had been trying to control so many outcomes. I've been trying to generate a lot in my life. I've been putting a lot of will, a lot of energy into the world. I was trying to scale this business with these guys. I was using a lot of force. I was trying to land clients. I was creating a lot. And from the outside, like there was a lot of happening, right? There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of energy. I was doing a lot. But inside, it was incongruent with who I was, what I was meant to do here. And that level of neediness and force and clinging and demanding that life give me something had the opposite effect, right? I actually ended up creating more messes. I ended up getting less. I ended up getting things kind of pulled away from me. I ended up losing opportunities. I ended up obviously getting kicked out of this partnership. And so when I woke up on January 1st, it was like I had this sobriety. I had literally kind of lost the last secure thing in my life, which was my business. I had nothing to rely on. And I got really clear at that moment that the way that I was doing things before wasn't working. And that if I wanted to shift my reality, I was going to have to shift the way that I related to the world. And so what I did was I gave up control. I got really fucking sober emotionally and spiritually. I'm not talking about physically or like from drugs or alcohol or whatever, though I was practicing that as well for the most part. But I got really emotionally and spiritually sober, which means that I was just seeing reality for as it was. I would look at my bank account and say, okay, I have $200 in my bank account. I would look at my living situation and say, okay, I live in this shack, a couple hundred square feet, no running water, drinking from a hose, pissing out a window. Okay, this is the actual circumstances of my life. This is the what isness. I got really, really sober. And from there was no illusion. I wasn't living in the delusion of life anymore. And then I learned, or I decided really, that, hey, maybe given my circumstances and that I created this, I created the situation that I'm in right now, I got myself here, that maybe the ways that I was operating weren't working. I mean, they obviously weren't working. My life was evidence that they weren't working. And so I decided to trust something beyond me and to relinquish control and instead be at choice. And this is hard because when we're desperate and when we're clinging, when we aren't sure how we're going to survive and we're not sure how we're going to pay rent and we're not sure how we're going to make it to the next month or the next week and it seems like nothing's working, there's a tendency for us to want to double down. And what this book talks about, which was really a confirmation for me, was that it's in the doubling down, it's in the focusing on what we don't want, it's in the aversion to the way that life is going, to the reality, to the what isness. We want to get drunk on our delusions because we're in resistance to how things actually are. And it's when we're in resistance to it that we actually end up amplifying the pain. We end up amplifying the results. We end up getting the exact thing that we don't want because we get fixated on what this book calls pendulums. These ideas that we get attuned or entrained or entranced by these systems that we adhere to that end up taking away our freedom and our autonomy, cutting our intuition at its heels, essentially, and like really numbing us and zombifying us, which is how 99% of the world is operating. And so beyond that, beyond the control and the need to fix things by taking a bunch of action and doing a bunch of things, there's a place that very few people get to. And oftentimes it requires an immense rug pull in our life, like losing everything, kind of like I did, where I was like, fuck, I'm at rock bottom. Like, how much worse could it fucking get? Like, how much worse could my fucking life get? You know, we get to this place and then we're put at choice. Okay, well, I can grip tighter. I can white knuckle more. I can try to control circumstances more. I can desire more. I can do more. I can fight more. Or I can declare that the war is over. I can put my fucking flag up and say, you know what? This is God's will. I'm going to surrender to whatever life is giving me right now. And when we surrender, when we stop trying to contort and twist reality, a new option emerges, a new timeline emerges, one that wasn't possible when we were in the tension of this or that, either or, right? Either I suffer incredibly in the situation that I'm in, or I have to resign and go get a normie job and whatever. Like these tensions that we get put into all the time where there's no other options. We're stuck on this kind of railroad track where it's either we go forward or backwards. It's like a rut. We just keep going forwards and then backwards and forwards and backwards. When we release control and when we trust spirit, trust God, relinquish all of that, new options appear in our consciousness. New signals, I guess you could say, come from the universe. And that allows us to make sober decisions. And it was when I said, fuck it, like how much worse could it get? It wasn't in a pitiful way. It was just like, okay, I'm actually open to any experience now, good or bad. I'm going to move judgment off the table. I'm going to be sober. I'm going to approach the what isness with this situation, of the situation, with no attachment, with no desire for it to go differently. I'm going to get off the pendulum. I'm going to get off the swing. I'm going to become the witness to it all. Instead of being so in the court with my life of trying to fucking wrangle it. Because that didn't work. So I put my white flag up and I started trusting what was coming through. I would get this weird hit of intuition. Like, create this, make this, say this, offer this, build this, right? And I had been, for context, a facilitator, a coach, someone building, working in the online space. I had a little bit of a following online, but never really saw much success, right? Like, did okay, just enough to get by. And it was when I relinquished all this control and all this kind of work and creation and creative force started coming through me, like beyond me, honestly. There was no fucking plan. There still is no plan. I don't believe in plans and goals anymore. I just believe in intentions. When I really allowed this all to come through, fucking miraculously and obviously, shit blew up. And it blew up fast, right? I went from like fucking $0 on January 1st to doing a $35,000 month like 3 months later, right? So shit changed really quickly. But it requires operating in this paradox, which a lot of people have a hard time doing. It's not about just going with the flow. It's about setting a powerful intention and then relinquishing control about how that comes through you, how that comes to fruition in the world, the timeline that it comes at, and just trusting like, I got this. Like there is no other option. This is the only timeline that I'm adhering to. This is the only reality that's going to manifest. And like being that ignorantly committed to that reality and walking with humility that it's not up to us how it transpires. But there has to be this unshakable conviction that it's going to work out. And that's what happened to me. Like when I got to this place, I was like, well, it can't get much fucking worse. So what if I just chose the exact reality that I want to create without having to will it? Like I just it's as simple as a choice. I didn't have to will it. I didn't have to fight it. And oddly enough, it's not that I just sat there and waited for it to come, but I got invigorated with this vitality and this creative energy that the whole thing didn't even feel like work. Like I was working like a fucking maniac, right? I was working 10, 12 hours a day sometimes, sometimes I was totally fucking off, but there was moments where it was almost like manic energy coming through me, and it was all this stuff was manifesting through me, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, but it didn't feel like a slog. Like I felt enlivened. It didn't run me down. It didn't wear me out. It actually emboldened me. It made me feel stronger. It made me feel more of who I am. It made me feel more connected to spirit. I just got a bunch of labs done recently, and my health is like better than it's been in years, despite working harder, despite pushing myself to the limit, because I'm locked in, like with God. You know what I mean? And it's not that there's little adjustments to make and there's things that I don't prefer, but that rock bottom, that place where I just threw up that flag and said, I'm surrendering to God's will, I'm surrendering to the universe, and whatever it is, I don't care what you call it, I'm surrendering to the natural flow of things. I'm not going to swim upstream anymore. I'm just going to flow with the banks. But it's not that I'm just letting the banks I'm not letting the river just take me. I'm not letting the current just take me. I'm swimming with it, right? I'm swimming with the current. And when I did that, life organized around me. There's a few quotes in this book that I think are really powerful. You have to maintain balanced intention, which means to want without desiring, to take care without worrying, to strive without being distracted, and to act without demanding. Balance is destroyed by the excess potential of projected importance. The more important the goal is, the harder it becomes to reach. That was really one of the big breakthroughs for me, is when I got filled with this energy, I just started creating things. I started creating offers. I started creating experiences. I started selling things with zero fucking attachment of how it was going to go, because I didn't care anymore. I was just in this position where it was like, fuck it. What's there to lose? Why don't I just fucking wing it? Fuck around and find out. What's there to lose? How could it get worse? Like, what? I literally have nothing to lose right now. And when you have nothing to lose, you gain so much, because there's not a lot of significance put on how things do. I just tried stuff. Did every single thing hit it out of the park? No. But a lot of it did, because I wasn't attached. I'd get in front of people and I'd say, hey, this is what I'm offering and this is how much it costs. And whether they bought it or not, I didn't give a shit. And guess what? They ended up buying it like crazy. And every single month, things have just gotten bigger and bigger. More and more. And I'm becoming less and less attached and more trusting. And so, if I could give you, if you're in like this place where things aren't working out and you're feeling that tension, you're feeling that need to clamp down, to white knuckle, to control, put up the fucking white flag. Give all the glory to something else. Trust that there's something bigger that's wanting to come through you. Trust that, like, the more focused and intensely you hold the need and desire for something to happen, the more it's going to move away from you. It's kind of that what we resist persists. What we cling on to runs away from us. Just like if you wanted an animal to come to you and you wanted to hold it, if you did it really intensely, if you approach it really quickly and with a lot of will and power, it's going to fucking run off. But if you wait and you make the invitation and you set the intention, it will meander its way over to you and end up in your arms. Creative force is not something that we clamp down on and wrangle. It's the will and the act of God wanting to come through us. And it's already done. It's already done for us. All we have to do is choose it. All we have to do is choose it. And it requires a level of trust, is really what it comes down to choose what we're worthy of. And we're worthy of it all. All we have to do is believe that we're worthy and then make the fucking choice. That's it. If you want to hear more about my story and kind of all the steps that I took along the way, go ahead and jump on my free creator course. It's just a 3-minute email every single day I send for 28 days. I tell a story of how I got here and kind of the mindset, the actions, and then also the tactical stuff around building an online creator business that's now done multiple 6 figures in the last 14 months. Anyway, I hope you're finding a way to trust, and if you're in this place where it feels like a bit of a dark moment in your life, or you're kind of at rock bottom, like, the answer isn't to keep doing what you were doing before. The answer is to let it all go and trust what wants to come through you, and you'll be amazed how fast things can change. I'm living evidence of it. I have all the fucking receipts. Happy to show them to you. Hope you're having a great day, evening, morning, wherever you are. Thanks for being here. Hit subscribe. We'll see you next time.